The opulent boardroom, with its towering glass windows overlooking New York City's iconic skyline, fell silent as a single, sharp voice echoed through the room. "Effective immediately, Ms. Carter. You're terminated." The words hung in the air, colder than the polished marble beneath her feet. As Olivia Carter, a dedicated single mother of two, struggled to keep her composure, the man sitting across from her reclined smugly in his leather chair. Jackson Sterling, a wealthy, arrogant CEO, exuded power in every sneer, convinced his decision would reduce her to nothing. But Jackson had no idea that the woman he had just dismissed would bring his world crashing down in ways he could never have imagined. Olivia Carter was no ordinary employee. She had climbed the ranks of Sterling Enterprises, starting as a receptionist and eventually earning her spot as one of the company's top financial analysts. For years, her ideas had helped save the company millions, yet her achievements were often overlooked, overshadowed by her colleagues, who didn't have to juggle work, motherhood, and the weight of systemic bias. The day Jackson Sterling called her into his office, she had just finalized a groundbreaking proposal that could revolutionize the company's approach to sustainability, an idea she had poured months into. Olivia walked into his office that morning, clutching the neatly bound proposal brimming with hope. Instead, she was blindsided. "We're restructuring," Jackson began, his icy blue eyes scanning her as though she were a number on a balance sheet. "Your role is redundant." "Redundant?" Olivia's voice cracked, disbelief etched on her face. "I just presented a proposal last week that could save this company millions. How is my role redundant?" Jackson's lips curled into a dismissive smirk. "It's a business decision. Nothing personal." But it was personal. Olivia knew it. Her spotless record, her loyalty, her ingenuity. It had all been swept aside because she didn't fit the image of the boardroom Jackson Sterling wanted to create. That night, Olivia returned to her modest Brooklyn apartment, her children, Jaden 10 and Mia 7, waiting eagerly for her to come home. She couldn't bring herself to tell them the truth yet. Instead, she sat in her bedroom, the weight of the injustice pressing down on her chest. But Olivia Carter was not a woman who gave up. The next morning, as the sun cast its first golden rays over the city, Olivia made a decision. If Sterling Enterprises didn't value her contributions, she would show them, and the world, exactly what she was capable of. Olivia spent the next few weeks meticulously researching every angle of her termination. She uncovered details about the company's shady practices, unequal pay structures, discriminatory hiring policies, and a staggering gender wage gap. She reached out to former employees who had been let go under similarly dubious circumstances, building a case that painted Sterling Enterprises as a hotbed of corporate misconduct. Simultaneously, Olivia began working on a new venture. Using the connections she had forged during her years in the corporate world, she pitched her sustainability proposal to potential investors. It wasn't easy. Many doors slammed in her face, and the sleepless nights started to pile up. But Olivia's resilience was unshakable. Months later, Sterling Enterprises was hosting its annual gala, an event dripping with luxury and exclusivity. The city's elite gathered in the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel, sipping champagne under sparkling chandeliers. Jackson Sterling, as always, was at the center of attention, basking in the glow of his success. What he didn't know was that Olivia Carter had also secured an invitation. Dressed in a sleek black gown, Olivia entered the room with quiet confidence, her every step a reminder that she was no longer the woman he thought he could crush. She had come armed, not with revenge, but with justice. At the peak of the evening, as Jackson prepared to give his speech, Olivia made her move. She approached him, handing him a copy of a legal notice. Sterling Enterprises was being sued for workplace discrimination, with Olivia as the lead plaintiff. The case had gained traction in the media, with several former employees coming forward to share their stories. Olivia's name was now synonymous with courage and determination. But that wasn't all. Weeks later, as the lawsuit gained momentum, the headlines shifted again. Former Sterling employee launches groundbreaking startup. Olivia's sustainability initiative, now backed by a coalition of ethical investors, had taken off. Her company, RenewCo, was quickly becoming a leader in the industry, attracting clients that Sterling Enterprises had long monopolized. The final blow came during a live interview on CNBC. Olivia, poised and articulate, outlined her vision for the future of corporate responsibility. Companies like Sterling Enterprises represent an old way of thinking, she declared. It's time for a change. Watching from his penthouse, Jackson Sterling's face turned ashen. Not only had Olivia rebuilt her life, she was eclipsing everything he had worked for. The day the lawsuit was settled, Olivia received a call from Jackson. His voice, once dripping with arrogance, was now subdued. "I underestimated you," he admitted. "If there's anything I can do to—" "There's nothing you can do," Olivia interrupted, her tone firm but not unkind. "But you can learn. Treat people with respect, Jackson. That's the only way to build something that lasts." Sterling Enterprises eventually crumbled under the weight of its scandals, while RenewCo flourished. Olivia's story became a beacon of hope, proving that resilience and integrity could triumph over even the most entrenched systems of power. Today, Olivia Carter is more than a CEO. She's a symbol of empowerment, her journey inspiring countless others to stand tall in the face of adversity. And Jackson Sterling? He's just another cautionary tale, a reminder that arrogance and prejudice have no place in a world driven by innovation and compassion. Months after Olivia's meteoric rise and Sterling Enterprises' dramatic fall, she thought her chapter with Jackson Sterling was closed. Her company, RenewCo, had just signed a massive contract with the city of New York to revamp its sustainability initiatives, cementing her place as a powerhouse in the industry. But as she sat in her glass-walled office overlooking Manhattan, a familiar name appeared in her inbox. Subject: a proposal from Jackson Sterling. From jackson.sterling@sterlingenterprises.com. Her pulse quickened, her first instinct to delete it. But curiosity got the better of her. She opened the email. "Olivia, I've made mistakes, bigger ones than I can count. My arrogance cost me everything, and I've had time to reflect on the harm I caused you and countless others. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'd like to meet. There's something you need to know about Sterling Enterprises and your future." Olivia's stomach churned. The last thing she wanted was to step into his orbit again, but something about the tone of his message felt different. Against her better judgment, she agreed to meet him at a neutral location, a quiet cafe in Soho. Jackson Sterling looked like a shadow of his former self. The once pristine suits and arrogant smirk were gone, replaced by a tired man in a simple blazer, his face lined with regret. "Thank you for coming," he said, rising awkwardly as she approached. Olivia sat, her arms crossed, ready for whatever self-serving excuse he had prepared. "Make this quick," she said. Jackson took a deep breath. "I've been doing a lot of thinking since everything happened. When I fired you, I told myself it was just business, but it wasn't, it was personal. And I think it's time you knew why." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "My father—" Jackson hesitated, clearly struggling with the weight of what he was about to say. "He built Sterling Enterprises, but he didn't do it alone. When he was just starting out, he had a partner, a brilliant woman who handled the finances and kept the company afloat when it was on the verge of collapse. Her name was Olivia Carter, your mother." The air left Olivia's lungs. "What?" she whispered. "I didn't know at the time," Jackson continued quickly. "My father erased her from the company history when he bought her out. Pennies for her stake, by the way. He always said she was just an employee. But after you left, I found old documents, financial records, letters. She wasn't just an employee. She was the co-founder." Olivia's hands trembled as the words sank in. Her mother had died when she was a child, leaving behind little more than memories and a few faded photographs. The thought that she had been a driving force behind Sterling Enterprises, and that the company had built its fortune on her contributions, sent a surge of emotions crashing through Olivia. Jackson slid a folder across the table. These are the original contracts, proof of her ownership. I know I can never undo what was done, but I want to make it right. Olivia stared at the folder, then back at Jackson. Why now? What do you get out of this? Jackson sighed. I've lost everything. The lawsuits, the scandals, they've ruined me. But if you reclaim what's rightfully yours, maybe there's some redemption in that, for both of us. Olivia opened the folder, her mother's signature staring back at her in bold black ink. The evidence was damning. With this, she could stake a legal claim to Sterling Enterprises, not just as a competitor, but as its rightful owner. 2 months later, the headlines were everywhere. Renew co-CEO Olivia Carter becomes majority shareholder of Sterling Enterprises. Using the documents Jackson provided, Olivia launched a legal battle that shook the business world. The courts ruled in her favor, awarding her a controlling stake in the company her mother had helped build. And in an unprecedented move, Olivia merged Renew Co. and Sterling Enterprises under a new name, Carter Sterling Industries, a tribute to her mother's legacy. As for Jackson Sterling, he quietly disappeared from the public eye. Some said he moved to a small town upstate, living a modest life far from the skyscrapers and spotlights he once craved. And Olivia? She became a legend. Not just for her business acumen, but for her unyielding determination to rewrite history on her terms. Because in the end, Olivia Carter didn't just win. She redefined what winning truly meant.